It's Tuesday. It's the 24th of June. I'm Moon Gon-young. This is ARIRANG News live from Seoul. Our top stories today. Korea's prime minister designate, amid mounting criticism over alleged pro-Japanese remarks he made in the past, withdraws from the nomination. It deals another blow to President Park Geun-hye's efforts to revamp her cabinet. The international community joins South Korea in stepping up pressure on Japan and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to stop denying Tokyo's past war crimes. On day 12 of the 2014 FIFA World Cup, 4 teams officially make their way into the round of 16. They are the Netherlands, Chile, Brazil, and Mexico. The World Cup at a glance, coming up in our newscast. But first, right here in this country, President Park is 0-4-2 in nominations for Prime Minister over the past month. Her latest pick, Myung-kil, stepped aside earlier this morning amid criticism over some controversial remarks he made a few years ago. ARIRANG News Choi Kyung-hwan reports.
Another one of President Park's prime minister nominees has withdrawn before a confirmation hearing, dealing a heavy blow to the president's running of state affairs.
I came to a conclusion that I would be helping President Park by stepping down at this point in time. Today, I'm resigning as the prime minister nominee.
Tuesday's announcement was widely expected after President Park last week delayed a motion to Parliament for a confirmation hearing on the nominee. ChangGuk drew heavy criticism from the public and the ruling and opposition parties for comments he made at his church a few years ago. Moon had said Japan's colonization of the Korean peninsula was part of God's plan to awaken the Korean people, and that he also divided the two Koreas to prevent communism from settling in the south. Before announcing his resignation, Moon, however, stood by his previous defense that his comments were distorted after broadcaster KBS only aired portions of them.
Every individual enjoys freedom of religion. That is a precious basic right. What is wrong with what I said according to my religious beliefs before my nomination?
To politicians on both sides of the aisle that demanded he withdraw, Moon said it is the parliament's duty to govern by law and not by public opinion. Following Moon's announcement, President Park expressed regret that the nominee has missed the chance of public judgment at a hearing. President Park's previous nominee, An Dae-hee, stepped down last month amid allegations he accepted privileges and high earnings in the private sector after retiring as a Supreme Court justice. Her first prime minister nominee named before she took office, Kim Yong-jun, resigned from allegations of real estate speculation and ethical lapses. Choi Kyung-hwan, ARIRANG News.
Now, with President Park apparently too occupied making a decision on the prime minister nominee, parliamentary hearings for her picks to become cabinet ministers have been pushed back, and this including the finance minister. Now, this comes when the economy is being weighed down by sluggish domestic demand. Our Myung-kil explains what this could mean for this country's fragile recovery.
Korea is facing a leadership vacuum in the economic sector. It has been more than a week since President Park Geun-hye tapped Choi Kyung-hwan as the country's new finance minister, but not a single move has been made for a confirmation hearing at the National Assembly. The situation is no better for the other 6 minister designates. It has the government worried about lost times as Korea's economy is gripped by fears of a double-dip recession amid slumping domestic demand. Korean consumers are increasingly reluctant to open their wallets, and businesses are shying away from massive investment. Experts say exports could falter if the strengthening of the Korean won continues unabated. The problems underscore the importance of having a finance minister in place, someone who can come up with an extra budget and influence monetary policies. Plans to reform the overall regulatory system, overhaul debt-ridden public enterprises, and boost domestic demand are likely to stall until a new finance minister is installed. The presidential office of Cheongwade hopes that person is nominee Choi Kyung-hwan, whose close ties with the president stand to help him push through major policies. But his nomination remains in limbo due to differences among government agencies and a lack of cooperation from the National Assembly. Myung-kil, ARIRANG News.
Now, with international anger growing over the Abe administration's efforts to undermine Japan's landmark apology for its use of sex slaves before and during World War II, Korea has announced plans to publish a special report to raise global awareness about the highly emotive issue. Here's our Yudian.
Seoul will publish a white paper addressing Japan's sexual enslavement of Asian women during World War II to raise global awareness on the issue. This will mark the first time for the government to publish a comprehensive white paper on wartime sex slavery. Government officials made the announcement Monday in a move against Tokyo's re-examination of the 1993 Kono Statement, where Japan had, for the first time, officially admitted to and apologized for its historical wrongdoing. Tokyo has now essentially played down the significance of the apology after concluding it was a product of intense behind-the-scenes negotiations, naturally raising the question on whether it was based on solid evidence. The move by Japan has also raised some eyebrows outside of Korea. The New York Times carried an editorial with a title reading Japan's Historical Blunders, which said Japanese nationalists will now use the results of the re-examination to retract the apology. It added that nationalist actions were interfering with Japan's efforts to play a leading role in the region. And that certainly seems to be the case. After harsh words from Korea, China also lashed out against Japan's latest move.
Japan's alleged investigation exposes its true intentions of refusing to face up to history. It's even attempting to whitewash or deny the true intentions of its crimes of invasion.
Historians say up to 200,000 women, mostly from Korea and China, were forced to serve in military brothels during World War II. Yurian, ARIRANG News.
Well, South Korea has been operating a provincial reconstruction team in the war-scarred nation of Afghanistan for roughly 4 years now. But on Monday, its mission came to a close. The group has educated and provided medical assistance to thousands of Afghan citizens. ARIRANG News' Hwang Sung-hee filed us this report from Afghanistan.
Ramat Bibi says she was devastated when doctors in Afghanistan said her heart disease could not be cured. She received surgery at the Korean hospital in Bagram airfield 1 month ago and is now waiting to return home.
I received medical treatment for 1 year, but I didn't get better. I'm so happy to have recovered here and I can't wait to see my family.
Every day, around 250 Afghans like Ramat visit the Korean hospital in Bagram airfield. The hospital, one of the Korean Provincial Reconstruction Team's reconstruction projects for Afghanistan, has treated some 150,000 Afghans over the last 4 years. The Vocational Training Center is another key project of the Korean PRT that has helped change the lives of people like Faisal Safi, a student turned teacher at the center's electricity department.
My life has completely changed since 4 or 5 years that I've been here. Because I'm an electrician, I can get a job very easily to support my family.
The Korean PRT, consisting of the government, the military, and the private sector, completed its mission in Afghanistan on Monday local time. Since 2010, it has dispatched a total of 2,500 personnel to share Korea's development experience in the fields of health, education, rural development, and governance.
We are the only aid recipient country to have turned into a donor country. This was clearly demonstrated in Afghanistan. Our activity has given hope to Afghans and became a source of pride for Koreans.
And while the PRT era has come to an end, Korea's mission to secure lasting stability in Afghanistan does not end here.
The Korean hospital in Bagram airfield and the vocational training center will remain open to assist those in need as Afghanistan continues its reconstruction efforts. Hwang Sung-hee, ARIRANG News, Bagram.
Now, meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry landed in Iraq on Monday for talks with Iraqi leaders. He met with leaders from both the Shiite and Sunni sides, and this as militants continue their violent campaign to control large parts of that country, including Iraq's largest oil refinery in Baiji. Shin Se-min reports.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry pledged intense support for the troubled Iraqi government against what he described as the existential threat of Islamist militants in the nation. Visiting Baghdad on Monday, Kerry pressed Iraqi leaders to put aside their sectarian differences to counter the Sunni insurgency, calling on the government to give more power to its political opponents. Kerry's visit comes as a militant group known as ISIL has gained control over vast territories in northern and western Iraq, including the nation's main oil refinery in north of Baghdad. Kerry, in a closed-door meeting with the country's Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, as well as key Shia and Sunni figures, stressed that the future of Iraq rests on the decisions made in the coming days and weeks. In response, Kerry said Prime Minister Maliki reaffirmed his commitment to forming a new and more inclusive government by the 1st of July. Maliki also reportedly asked that Washington carry out airstrikes on key militant targets throughout Iraq and Syria. Kerry said a great deal of care and caution would be needed before any attack was launched, but promised support in other ways.
The support will be intense, sustained, and if Iraq's leaders take the necessary steps to bring the country together, it will be effective.
In the meantime, Washington appears to be resting its hopes on a peace deal between Iraq's Shiite-dominated government and Sunni rebels, although with ISIL now in control of large parts of Iraq, such a deal feels far off. Shin Se-min, ARIRANG News.
All of the day's important events close to home and around the world. Join Moon Gon-yong live from Seoul.
Mobile shopping market for the dual use of the Korean name East Sea and Japanese name Sea of Japan in school textbooks in the state of Virginia. Another victim has been recovered from the sunken solo ferry, bringing the confirmed death toll from the disaster to 293. 11 others remain unaccounted for. 70 days after the ferry sank in waters off southwestern Korea. Now, officials say the body is that of a female student and she was recovered from the 4th floor of the sunken vessel. The body has been moved to a temporary chapel located in Pyeongkang Harbor. DNA testing will be used for identification as her body has been badly decomposed. Divers will resume their search of the ferry once tidal conditions improve. Korea's low birth rate is a widely acknowledged problem both domestically and internationally. And while measures being instituted to reverse the trend, new stats from May which show the population of children in this country at a new low suggest they aren't working. Connie Kim reports.
The number of children born in Korea has dropped to a 42-year low. The public administration said Tuesday that there were 7.4 million children in the nation last month, the lowest level recorded since 1972. The ministry warned that if this trend continues, the total population will begin to dip in about 15 years as children today mature to marriage age. The total population is forecast to peak at 52.2 million in 2030 and then begin to decline. It's something that would no doubt have an effect on the Korean economy.
For instance, schools will be forced to undergo personal restructuring and there will be a shortage in national defense resources as fewer people will be enlisted. It will also lead to fewer people in the labor market and an aging of the labor force. Overall, domestic demand will be unstable.
Senior citizens aged 65 and over now make up about 12% of the total population, but the number will rise considerably over the coming years. And while the total number of children currently exceeds that of senior citizens in the nation, that will change by the year 2017. Connie Kim, ARIRANG News.
Now, on a different note, and now for their general health and comfort, during the extremely hot and humid summers here in Korea, our ancestors used to survive the heat wearing clothes made of what's called mochi. It's a light and airy traditional fabric. Well, now this mochi is making somewhat of a fashion resurgence here in the nation, as our Park Ji-won reports.
69-year-old Bang Yeon-uk has been weaving mochi or fine rami fabrics for almost her entire life. The skill she learned dates back to 1,500 years to the nation's west-central region of Hansan.
It takes great effort to make a fabric out of rami plants, as it involves many steps. To make a suit, the weaving process itself takes about 10 days.
Mochi cloth weaving starts with the rami plant, one of the oldest fibers cultivated for fabrics. Rami first needs to be peeled off and then split to be made into threads. The handmade community process of weaving the fabric made it on UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage List in 2011.
These handmade rami fabrics are known for being light, breathable, and holding shape easily.
This strong yet airy natural fabrics has inspired modern fashion designers like Seo Young-soo, who recently held a collection composed of pieces made of mochi fabric.
What's great about the rami fabric is that it gives a beautiful natural silhouette to any design. It goes especially well with dresses, although it's not too feminine. Mochi can go well with any design, but I think it's the best fabric for high-end dresses.
For those who would like to experience the textiles themselves, the annual Hansan Rami Fabric Cultural Festival is taking place this week in the west-central part of the country. Park Ji-won, ARIRANG News.
Well, for some teams, advancing out of the group stage at the World Cup involves complex scenarios and FIFA tiebreakers. For one team, advancing is quite simple and involves Neymar, doesn't it, Ji-san?
Viva Brazil in Brasilia. The host nation crushed Cameroon 4-1 in their capital in their 100th World Cup game. And this one goes to squad superstar Neymar, whose double kept his country perched at the top of Group A. Neymar's goal in the 70th minute made another piece of history, as it was the 100th goal at this year's World Cup. After scoring 2 brilliant goals in the first half, Neymar was taken off in the second half to give him some rest before the next match. His fellow countrymen Fred and Fernandinho also got on the score sheet to give Brazil a convincing victory. Neymar is the top scorer at the moment with 4 goals. 5 other strikers, including Thomas Müller of Germany and Robin van Persie of the Netherlands, are closely behind with 3 goals each. Elsewhere in the group, Mexico beat Croatia 3-1 to advance to round of 16 for 6th consecutive time. Spain wrapped up their World Cup with a 3-0 victory over Australia. Both of them now have a long flight home to think about. After already having secured their spots in the second stage, the Netherlands beat Chile 2-0, which means they avoid going up against Brazil in the last 16. The knockout stage kicks off this weekend, starting with Brazil and Chile facing off at Belo Horizonte at 1 p.m. local time on Saturday. And Mexico and the Netherlands will hold their match at Fortaleza at the same time on Sunday. As you can see, teams from Latin America are currently outperforming the rest. European squad, on the other hand, Croatia, England, Spain, and Bosnia-Herzegovina will be packing their bags and flying across the Atlantic in the coming days. Now checking the group standings on this Tuesday with just 1 match left for the remaining groups. And here's a look at today's games. The verdict will be out for Group C and D on this Tuesday. Tied on 3 points, Uruguay must beat Italy to advance from Group D. With just Colombia short to advance from Group C, it will be an all-out battle between Greece and Côte d'Ivoire to join them. And that was your look at the latest from the World Cup. I'll see you guys back here for more updates.
And now it's time for a look at the arts and culture of this country. And for that, of course, our Im Yoon-hee joins me live in the studio. Good afternoon to you, Yoon-hee.
Good afternoon.
Now, today I hear that you can introduce to us an artist who heals through his artwork.
So this artist has had to overcome his own trials through his art, and now he aims to spread a smile to the rest of the nation, attempting to overcome a tragedy. Take a look.
A smile can brighten a day, but what about a wall of smiles? Artist Lee Mo-gul became known for his hyper-realist paintings, but as he grows with age and wisdom, he wants to share something else with the world, the joy of a smile.
It's my desire to make people laugh and to make them lighthearted during difficult times.
Last year, the 53-year-old artist began his Smile series, a series that was born out of his efforts to create happy, optimistic images. And now they decorate the walls and touch the lives of many around the nation.
This is something I have to do. That's why I created this exhibition, because I wanted to share a smile. In the end, it doesn't matter if you're rich or even how well you can draw the pictures.
Through the end of this year, Lee's Smiles will be touring all over Gyeonggi-do province, along with other neighborhoods around Korea. Lee believes a smile is a gift from heaven, a gift that is sure to be appreciated by many.
Well, you know, just looking at his art pieces, it brought a smile to my face. So I think it's able to bring smiles on anyone's face.
Very colorful, bright works. But you know, Lee, as an artist, he actually had to endure quite a bit. So as a child, he had to endure poverty, extreme poverty, and because of that, he began losing his sight at the age of 10. Now, he continued to paint because he kept saying that he could not help but think about painting. That's all he wanted to do. And so even now, as he's almost blind today, he still keeps painting. And so this Smile series is not just for the audience and the public, but for himself as well.
Right, he's almost completely blind, but he continues to paint. That's just incredible.
So I actually have some more artwork today, but these are a little bit different artworks, and they're also just as incredible. So these artists are on the pioneering edge of 3D printer-created art. And so this art exhibition has some very expanded pieces, and so 3D printing has been expanded from medicine, technology, and now we're seeing in art. Take a look.
From the side, it looks like a beautiful mountain range, with one peak after another. But look from above and you'll see something else. A man clutching his gun. Two people trapped behind steel bars. These black and white pictures have been raised into life, and three-dimensional versions have been created using the technology of a 3D printer, including this statue capturing the swing of a fighter. Something we otherwise wouldn't be able to see with the naked eye is now caught in motion.
This is a new technology that has opened the door for a new language and new type of communication. Using a 3D printer, you can't express the same things as traditional sculpting, but you can show things that would have otherwise been difficult to create.
Artist Kim Chang-guk recreates a childhood favorite toy and puts them together in this twisted creation, reminiscent of a holiday favorite candy. 21 artists from different fields of art come together for this 3D printer exhibition, the first of its kind in Korea, where artists show that high-tech machines and visual art can converge to create unique artworks.
The artists' imaginations are able to be realized through the 3D printer. The concepts that go along with 3D printer art are being displayed in this visual art exhibition.
It's a marriage between technology and art, one that's sure to be expanded in the future, as artists show that there's always something new to be explored.
You know, I'm sure 3D has really opened the doors for artists and, making it anything possible for them.
So recently, a very interesting story. An American-based artist, Dimut Strabe, she actually teamed up with some scientists and extracted some DNA from a family and recreated a very famous ear, and this is none other than Van Gogh's ear, that he cut off 126 ago in a psychotic break. And so they actually reprinted the ear, and it's on display at a museum with the microphone attached. So the artist wants to create this, you can talk into the ear and tell the ear your secrets. It's an art exhibition, but she said she really felt that she wanted to, combine technology and art.
Well, very interesting, but a little bit freaky at the same time.
A little bit different, right?
Right. Well, definitely something, only advanced technology can do.
Exactly.
All right, thank you so much for the report.
Always a pleasure.
And that's just about all from me this hour. I'm Myung-kil. Check back with us at 4 p.m. Korea time for Business Today.